maintain a balance, between my profession and my home, personal life. Process starts. The first thing is to understand what my client actually is looking for through this case. Then, before retired Supreme Court and retired High Court judges, just gives me the confidence that litigation is very important to instill the confidence in the overseas investors, in the foreign investors.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast series from Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm Priya George, and today we have the privilege of speaking with someone whose career has spanned over 3 decades in the legal profession. Our guest today is Ms. Padmaja Dholakia, the sole proprietor of Dholakia Law Associates, where she has built an impressive reputation in commercial litigation, arbitration, and intellectual property law. With her extensive experience in both the courtroom and in advisory roles, Ms. Dholakia has worked on India's most notable legal cases, representing top businesses and nationalized banks. Today, we are excited to hear about her journey, her experiences navigating the legal and corporate worlds, and her thoughts on the intersection of law, business, and leadership. Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Dholakia. It is an honor to have you here today.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for having me. It's an honor for me too to be a part of this process.
So, moving on with our interview, Ms. Dholakia, you've definitely had an incredible journey in the legal field, with over 30 years of experience in some of the most complex areas of law. So when you look back on those years, I'm sure there were some defining moments that really set the course for your career. Could you share some of those key moments or decisions that made you feel that it truly shaped your path and brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, Priya. It has been an incredible journey of a lot of learning. And actually, I come from a family of very highly intellectually qualified people. Actually, the background is all family full of scientists. And I'm the only one who's deviated. So I had to make a space for myself, amongst all these intellectuals. Right. So having chosen a different field, that was the first motivation, actually, to make a space for myself. And law, although I began by chance, but the passion for the profession grew, the need to, acquire more knowledge and help where I could was defined mainly by two really defining cases in my life. One of them was one of the first cases that I handled when I was barely a new graduate, and where I conducted my first trial, and it was for a very small case, value-wise, if you look at it. But the lesson that it taught me was a lot of humility, a lot of understanding of the issues that everyone faces, whether it's a small or whether it's a big entity. The second defining case was a national level, a very big issue dealing with the securities scam, where I worked with some of the notable counsels in the profession. And that again taught me the need for and the importance of research and actually preparing the smallest of nitty-gritty details. And that kind of triggered my excitement and interest in the profession. And that's what really hooked me on to litigation, the thrill of actually doing the research, presenting your case, and then winning it. So that was two notable trigger points for me, yeah.
Lovely to hear that, Ms. Dholakia. Yeah. Now, when we talk about you working for one of India's most prestigious law firms, Little and Company,
yes,
to starting your own practice with Dholakia Law Associates, and I'm sure it must have been a big leap for you. It's one thing to have a successful career in a well-established firm, but also deciding to venture out on your own, it definitely takes courage and vision. So what were some of the toughest challenges you faced during this transition? And how did you navigate those obstacles while staying true to your values and vision?
Yeah. Actually, Priya, as a woman entrepreneur and as a woman professional, you would also understand there are different stages, in our life where we come, where there are changes to which we have to adapt. So similar was my journey.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when I was with Little and Company, and then when I began growing there in the firm, there came a time where I had to maintain a balance, between my profession and my home, personal life, and I had to give that time to my,
Absolutely.
very small children, and that's when I decided that the flexibility that I can get in maintaining a professional career is by starting out on my own, like being an entrepreneur, because even starting your own law firm is nothing less than an entrepreneurial journey, So,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So that's when I decided to take the leap, and where I could have the flexibility of time, and it also kind of fed my passion, and thought that yes, there's not going to be an upper ceiling or an upper limit for me to grow. There's only so much that can happen in a firm, but this is something where the sky is the limit for me, and I can grow in the direction and the areas that I want to. The choice is mine. So that's what triggered actually my journey, and that's how I started it. And to maintain a balance and to be true to my values is honest hard work. Honestly, nothing can replace that. Nothing can replace honest hard work, which in the field of law involves a continuous learning process, because there are so many changes that keep happening to law in the field of law from time to time. There are new amendments, there are new notifications, there are changes in the law, there is some new law that comes in. So it's a constant learning process. That was something which also fed my curiosity and passion, because learning and knowing more about different facets is something that I always love. And that learning has also led me to teaching and mentoring. What I learn, I love sharing with others. So it has been a very nice and a very fruitful journey for me, I would say. It's tough, yes, it's had its ups and downs and difficult moments, but I would say it's been a wonderful journey for me, from being an employee to an employer, an entrepreneur, a teacher, a mentor. I have loved my journey very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And I completely resonate when you started off your answer, where you said there are certain questions that only women have to ask. It's about juggling family and career.
Yes.
I think it goes to just one gender, and they have to make those decisions and, multitask.
Yes.
Completely understand where you're coming from. And clearly, by the way you responded, it's understood that you turned your early challenges into stepping stones for success.
Absolutely.
So, Ms. Dholakia, it definitely takes incredible strength and vision to carve your own path in such a competitive field. You've not only built a successful practice, but like you mentioned, you also contributed to mentoring future legal minds, which is definitely inspiring. Ms. Dholakia, you've represented some of the biggest names in business and nationalized banks in landmark cases before the Supreme Court and Bombay High Court. Now, these are just not any cases, they are high stakes, high pressure situations. So, when you're preparing for such critical litigation, especially involving major clients and complex issues, how do you approach the presentation process? Like, what mindset or strategies do you rely on?
Okay. See, this is a profession, where we need to be very good listeners. And I think women have that innate, inherent power, our inherent talent. We need to be very good listeners. You must listen to the client, understand their needs. Only then can you actually get them the results that they are looking for. So when my preparation process starts, the first thing is to understand what my client actually is looking for through this case. Then starts the research, and to balance the existing facts of the case with the law. I have to fit, ultimately the law goes nowhere, the law is already there. I have to fit and ensure that my case comes within that so that I can achieve what my client wants. So that's a tough ground, to tread on, because not always the facts are in your favor. So that's the balance we are looking for. And in fact, if I could relate a couple of instances where I was appearing in an arbitration matter and an arbitration proceedings before a retired Supreme Court judge. Unfortunately for us in this case, the facts were not very much in our favor, in favor of our client. And we knew that we were a bit of a sticky wicket. But when you're dealing with a case, it's like almost like negotiating a contract or negotiating a deal. You have to understand, one of the very crucial factors is you also have to understand the body language of your opponent. So in this particular case, what happened was that our opponent was a little smug, a bit on the arrogance, I would say, a bit more on the arrogant side, because he was confident that he's going to win. But that worked against him in a way because he managed to keep irritating and annoying the arbitrator on every date. So although ultimately we were not successful in our case, but we left a better impression, I believe, on the arbitrator than the opponent who actually won the case. So these things matter because they give you the confidence. Okay, everything is not a win-win situation. You do lose, you win some and you lose some. But it gives you the confidence that yes, how you're presenting yourself, how you are approaching the whole case is right. That gives you the strength for the next case to handle. These few incidences and these few appearances before retired Supreme Court and retired High Court judges just gives me the confidence that yes, I know what I'm doing is right and I know I'm on the right path, and that gives me the confidence and the strength to continue in this field.
Right. And what you said, I think really matters, especially if you're having a completely different case in front of the same arbitrator.
Yes.
They already know the way you operate. You're coming from a place of goodwill and principles.
Yes.
So I think it definitely has a huge standing on when you have your next case in front of the same person. Absolutely.
It may or may not be there, but it just helps. And it gives you the strength. Okay, yes, I am walking on the right path.
Right path. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that was really insightful. And it's also not just about the law, but also being prepared mentally and strategically for every battle of sorts. So with your deep understanding of arbitration, how do you view the future of arbitration in India, especially as the legal landscape continues to evolve?
Yeah. Actually, say, in a way, Priya, arbitration was always there. It's not a law which was given to us by the British or something. Because what is arbitration? Two people who are disagreeing go to one person who's trying to resolve it. What was our panchayat system?
Right.
I mean, we always had it, right? We always had these systems. What the British gave us is maybe streamlined it for us in the proper manner and brought it to a larger audience and a larger people, to benefit from it. So if you look at it, we always had it in our system. It just had to grow in the right manner. And I think over the period of time, from the law that the British gave us, then to the 1940 Act, and thereafter, with its various amendments right up till 2018, the various amendments and changes that have been brought into the law, I think arbitration is the next best thing that has happened besides the regular courts. We all know the limitations of the regular courts. I mean, you can't blame the system. They are overburdened with a lot of litigation. But arbitration is something that has really helped a lot of parties. MNCs and even the domestic companies, they rely and they feel more confident with arbitration because it's more of streamlined and more time bound, and it's a one-to-one hearing. When you have an arbitration panel, whether it's a single arbitrator or a panel of three, it is more streamlined. Yeah. and it's time bound. And in fact, if you look at the recent amendments, we are trying to make it more globally acceptable. Of course, we are growing as a nation. We are internationally, commercially we are growing in that areas. So arbitration is very important to instill the confidence in the overseas investors, in the foreign investors also, that the legal system here is going to look into our issues if at all something arises. So arbitration is something that has really grown by leaps and bounds, and especially now with institutional arbitration that has been brought into by amendments of 2018 and 19, and also where international arbitration like the Singapore International Arbitration Bench, which has opened a second liaison office in Mumbai, in India. Then there is the London arbitration rules, then there is the other international arbitration rules. So all these, of which India is a very big part, major litigants are Indian corporates over there. But yes, India has definitely streamlined its arbitration process, and that is the future, the alternate dispute resolution. That is the future of how dispute resolution is going to go ahead. Because our traditional courts are truly overburdened, and time is definitely not in their favor or in favor of the litigants. It's not really resolved in a time-bound manner. But arbitration has definitely addressed those issues, and I believe that's the future. The alternate dispute resolution is the future of resolving disputes in India.
Okay, so what I'm given to understand is that arbitration is solving issues in a time-bound manner. Is that?
Yes, definitely.
Does that vary case to case?
It varies case to case, of course, depending also on the two parties involved in the case. But the law itself mandates that there is a time limit within which you have to resolve these disputes. And if within 6 months or 180 days, your dispute is not resolved, you need to go to the court and seek permission justifying the delay for extending the arbitration tribunal. So it is time bound, and that is giving reliefs to parties. And the second most important thing that the law has taken care of in the arbitration processes is the arbitral fees. Earlier it used to be a very expensive process, because of which most parties would not opt for arbitration. But now with the cap on the fees that can be charged by the arbitration panel, yes, the parties, prospective disputants or litigants are finding arbitration to be a way better option than going to the court.
Okay, yes, that's really interesting to know.
Yeah.
Talked about the changes, like the changes you mentioned, which are definitely vital to shaping a definitely more robust and efficient dispute resolution framework.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to hear your perspective on where it's headed. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's going to who's going to stop me. Now, this is a powerful thought by Ayn Rand that resonates with many strong women in leadership roles, which definitely includes you, Ms. Dholakia. Now, with your extensive experience in law and arbitration, how do you see your journey evolving as you look towards future boardroom roles? What's driving you to aim higher?
Okay. As I said, this is a journey which began with a want or a desire to create a space for myself in my whole family of scientists and, achievers, big time achievers. So to create that space, from there where the desire has started. So I have managed to create a niche for myself in my profession of law. And I have created a niche for myself in mentoring and in my teaching career. And this, I feel like, it's a definite growth aspect for me. And I feel the next step of being on a board of a company is just an extension or a continuation of my growth process, I feel I can carry forward this journey. One is my experience, my knowledge, and the desire put together. And the the mentoring processes, So it's a continuous learning and a teaching process. So I feel my contribution on a board of a company could stem from my knowledge of law, plus what I am in my teaching career. I teach management students, and these are the topics like I teach corporate law, I teach corporate governance, I teach legal aspects of business. So this is what I'm teaching them is what I can bring to the table also in on the board of any company. So because
Absolutely.
I bring a blend of the professional experience plus the corporate knowledge. So a blend of both is, I think, a very positive contribution that I can make to the board of any company.
Great. So what I gathered is, along with these other roles that you might take up in the future, mentoring is something that will be a constant, regardless of whatever other opportunities might come your way.
Yes. In fact, what I feel is, and this has been a very positive feedback for me, is colleagues who have worked with me, who have trained under me as interns, or who have worked with me as my junior colleagues, even 10, 15 years ago, they still come back to me for advice or consultation, or just to discuss some topic where they are stuck on, or they come back just to greet me and meet me. So when I see this, I feel, okay, somewhere I have done something right in guiding them, that I am a good mentor to them, and they still feel the confidence to come back to me from time to time. And I feel that positive feedback which I'm getting is what I can contribute further to the next generation of both entrepreneurs as well as the corporate sector.
Absolutely. I think sharing your knowledge, and when you see it being, taken to some form of productivity it's a very gratifying, like as an educator, I can completely agree with what you're saying. It's a very gratifying and fulfilling, situation. So clearly you're a very driven person, especially in a field where women in leadership roles are still growing. It's incredibly inspiring. And we are sure your contributions will continue to make a powerful impact on the boards you serve. Now, Ms. Dholakia, when we talk about corporate governance, it's such a critical topic today, and you've mentioned in your previous responses as well. We've seen corporate governance evolve significantly, both globally and here in India as well.
Yes.
With your extensive experience in litigation and arbitration, how do you think India's corporate governance practices have transformed over the years?
Okay. Priya, from the traditional family-owned businesses to the very professionally run businesses today, it has been definitely a long journey, not just for growth of business, but also in the value system and how the business is run. And especially post 90, after the liberalization, and after opening up our economy to foreign investments, we have been exposed as a nation and as a business community. We have been exposed to a lot of value systems which maybe we did not have, or we did not actually actively inculcate in running our businesses. So when we are exposed to this value system, it is something that we have to learn from. If you want to match those standards, or if you want those international businesses to come to you and work with you, we have to match that standard of both integrity, value systems, how you run, the goals, the vision and the mission, both. So I feel there has been a significant growth in the corporate governance process from the 90s onwards. And today, though we are faced with still some more issues as far as corporate governance processes are concerned, but I think we have made significant progress in it. And what we need to look forward, in our continuous growth process is that we need to learn from the mistakes of the past, our own, as well as look at the corporate world, see from the mistakes that the other corporates have made, where has there been issues of corporate failures, governance failures, learn from that. And I think if we can learn the lessons properly and we are sincere in actually integrating that value system, I think we can definitely grow much further and definitely in a very positive manner. And I think corporate governance is definitely something which our corporates now have taken very seriously, and they are sincere to inculcate, incorporate, and ensure that the corporations are run with proper governance systems.
Right. So it's clear that you do a lot of self-reflection, is
Absolutely.
what I understood. Do you do that after probably every case, or every, is it something
Yes.
that you
You
practice?
see, when I'm in this profession, Priya, I need to learn a few lessons from the cases that I have lost so that I don't repeat my mistakes for the future cases. Also, when I teach my students, when I teach them corporate governance, this is what I do, case studies. So when I'm doing case studies, I have to learn from those cases. I have to teach them. You are future managers, you are future entrepreneurs. You have to learn from these mistakes. So that's something, that constant learning process. As I said, I am a person who's driven to constantly learn and update my knowledge. So that's something which I really want to pick from my journey.
Right. Thank you so much for your response. And we are nearing the end of our interview. And before you leave, it really brings to light how much the legal and corporate landscapes are interwoven. And
Absolutely.
thank you for sharing your invaluable insights. So, Ms. Dholakia, as you are currently pursuing the Advanced Corporate Director Program with Directors Institute, what's your experience been like so far? How do you feel this course is shaping your perspective on corporate governance and board level leadership?
Okay. See, although one of my areas of practice has been corporate laws, and I teach corporate laws as well as corporate governance, but the perspective that I am getting from this course is a lot more than what I have been exposed to in my 32 years in the profession as well as my teaching career. So it is something that is balancing and adding to my knowledge base. And I feel this is giving me a stronger base for my future roles, which I'm looking forward to as a board member in various corporates. So I think this is definitely a value addition for me. And my journey so far has been very insightful, and I'm very excited to go forward in this journey with Directors Institute. And I'm really thankful to them for it.
That's lovely that you are having a very positive experience. And from our conversation today, it's clear that you are a person who is very driven. You believe in being a lifelong learner. You believe in values and principles. And you want to share your learnings with others. So it also gives us an insight into another part of your personality. And it's so inspiring to hear how the Directors Institute is helping you expand your leadership horizons. Absolutely. And it's clear that even with decades of experience, the pursuit of knowledge never stops. So with that,
there is no
absolutely,
age
I agree.
To learn. There's absolutely no upper ceiling as far as age is concerned to learn or acquire knowledge. It has to be a continuous process. Otherwise, we as humans will stagnate.
Absolutely. I completely resonate with what you just said. And thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us, Ms. Dholakia. It's been truly inspiring to hear about your journey and the incredible impact you've had in both the legal and corporate worlds. So at Directors Institute, we wish you nothing but the best as you continue to shape the future of governance and mentorship. And your passion and yes, absolutely. And your passion for both law and education is unparalleled. So thank you so much for being with us and taking the time and giving us such well thought out and insightful answers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor to meet you. Thank you.
Yes, the honor's been mine, Ms. Dholakia. With that, we wrap up today's episode of FaceTime with Leaders. We are so grateful to have had Ms. Dholakia with us today, and we can't wait to bring you more interesting and inspiring conversations from visionary leaders in our next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay driven, and keep making a difference in everything that you do. See you. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.